We've actually come back up to one of the spots where Joe and Aaron had located one of the rattlesnakes earlier. And earlier on, because of the temperature in that, it was burrowed under some leaves. Well, now that the sun's out, it's actually come out to bask in the sun to take in some of that heat. And what's really unique about this snake and the habitat it shows has to do with how barren still this hill is. Usually they like the areas with the cover in that, which it's found some really unique ways to hide by going under just the small clumps of leaves in that. But when it comes to an overall area, it's really not that great for being and remaining secretive. But you can see that we've actually came up pretty close to where this one is. And it's right here on the hill, and it's not making any aggressive movements whatsoever. It's just kind of taking up the sun, realizes we're here, but being extremely timid, not aggressive.
We left the rattlesnake on the hill and headed down toward the construction area for the Environmental Education Center that is being built here at Indian Springs Metropark. We stopped to collect data on a snake that had located itself right inside a construction barrier. I thought it was odd that this snake had chosen to remain so close to the construction, but it turns out that this was nothing compared to where we found one of the other snakes from the study.
Joe and Aaron have been telling us about one of the snakes here that's actually moved from the more wetland areas and moved right here into actually a construction zone. And right now they're trying to locate it. They've seen it right around the same area quite a few times, but part of the study that they are doing is actually the effect that the construction in that here will have on the habitat of the Massasauga, and also more importantly how the Massasauga is going to react to the construction going on within its habitat area. So since these Massasaugas have actually moved to the construction zone, do you guys ever get tempted to want to relocate it so it gives it a little more protection, you know, out in a more seclusive area?
Yeah, it's tempting, you know. I mean, with all this activity, there is a good risk that the snake could get killed. I mean, this little strip of dirt here just went in since this snake has moved out here. So, I mean, if you would have been in there, you could have been killed really easily. But
yeah.
It's in terms of our study, it's probably better to just leave them where they are. If there is mortality from construction, then that's an important part of the study.
Okay.
It's an important thing to be able to document.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess overall, if that's what you're looking for, then you'd have to leave them alone here.
After leaving the construction area, Joe and Aaron decided they wanted to head over toward the Nature Center. While they were finishing up recording some of their data, Amy decided to explore the area outside the Nature Center to look for other wildlife. She didn't get to look very long, though, before I roped her into being a part of my rattler demonstration.
You know, we've talked a lot about what the Massasauga rattlesnake eats and how they enjoy the rodents for their prey. But what we haven't talked about yet is how they eat, which is kind of cool. Because the common snakes, like the garter snake and that, actually eat a little bit different than what the rattlesnake does. And I'm going to try to demonstrate this as best I can with my hands by using my lovely assistant, my wife. Come on over, Amy. So now what happens is the common garter snake, because they don't have the fangs in that, they just have those little teeth or sometimes no teeth whatsoever. What they do is, this is their mouth by the way, not actually my hand, pretend. They come up to the unsuspecting prey and they bite. And usually what happens is they'll bite down on the head, or if they bite, they'll try to adjust again to get to the head. And then once they have it, and they have it locked in, they actually use their jaws to work its way into the mouth. They expand their mouth like that. They get it in, and they actually bring it down the length of their body using their muscles. But the rattlesnake, on the other hand, they have those two fangs in front. The Massasauga has those two fangs that are hollow, and what it does is it bites the unsuspecting prey with those two fangs. And it usually goes for the rodents in that, which could actually harm the snake. So if it bites them first and injects that venom, then that venom will run through the body, the snake will back off for a minute, and it'll either paralyze or actually kill the unsuspecting prey. So it bites just like that. And injects that venom, but then it'll bite again after the animal becomes motionless, or you know, it becomes paralyzed or dies, like I said. Then it bites again. You're getting a little nervous here. It bites again. It may go for the head, but what it'll do is it actually can retract those fangs or draw them back. So when it grabs, it will draw back and help to pull it into the mouth, where that mouth expands. Pull it in, use those fangs to draw it back, and then use the muscles to bring it down the digestive tract. Remember, that's a rattlesnake.
We decided to come over to the Indian Springs Nature Center to go and check out one of the snakes that Joe and Aaron temporarily housed for observation.
And you can see that the best way, the safest way to handle this snake is obviously using one of the snake sticks. This isn't something that these guys grab by hand. It's nothing I would grab by hand. This is definitely the safest way for the snake and also for ourselves.
And normally in the wild, if we came up on this rattlesnake, they have a heat-sensing pit between the eye and the nostril. So commonly, if you walk up on one of these on the ground and not on the stick, because you are a large source of heat to the snake, it's paying directly attention to you. And you can put the snake stick right behind it, touch the snake with it, and he won't pay attention to it at all because he feels most threatened by the heat source. And typically the head will be poised right at you and not worry about any other cold objects around it, which is one of the reasons the snake stick is nice, because it's not a source of heat, it's actually a cold piece of metal and they don't pay much attention to it, which is helpful when you're trying to pick them up, to weigh them, or anything else.
Now, Joe, how many times a year on average will a rattlesnake shed? And also, when it comes to their rattle specifically, does anything happen with that when they shed?
Well, snakes shed an average of 3 times during the year. Rattlesnakes, the Massasauga in particular, about 2 to 5 times a year, depending on how healthy the snake is. A snake that's eating more and growing faster will shed more times in the year. And every time a snake sheds a skin, he adds a new button to his rattle.
Now, the Massasauga actually uses its rattle as a warning to other animals that may be threatening it, or even to people that may be threatening it. You can see that it actually starts to vibrate. Now, Joe and Aaron have told us that it's kind of ironic because the rattle doesn't work that well in water, but yet they are a wetlands rattlesnake. And one of the reasons that we've actually got to witness it rattling in here is because of the fact that when it is in an aquarium in an unnatural setting like this, it will feel a little more nervous, basically, or a little more threatened because of the habitat that it's in, or the unnatural habitat that it's in. Now, we've actually set up the aquarium so I could crawl underneath, 1 to relax, and 2 to get some shots of the belly. You can see the beautiful coloration on the bottom of it. When he moves, he actually uses the scutes, which are the belly scales, and the muscles that are lined throughout their body will actually contract and help pull it along. When they want to move fast, they can actually kind of throw their body side to side to help propel it faster, but to move slowly across the ground, the muscles will actually contract and expand all along the body to help it propel forward.
That was awesome! Not only did we get to see the rattlesnake today in the natural habitat, but now we just got to check it out up close in that aquarium. Got to get a good look at the pits and that on the snake, and why that snake is so distinguishable, the Massasauga that is, why it's so distinguishable from any other snake here in Michigan. So, and I just found out some other really cool news. We get to actually film the surgery when they implant that little radio device in the snake. So join us next time on Team Reptile.